Brentocast, Season 2, with your host, Brent Bowers.
Brentocast, episode 58. It's April 17th, about 25 days since the last episode in which I dropped the bomb, rather abrupt life change to our family, in that my mom had a stroke which paralyzed her on the left side. To date, she is still paralyzed on the left side, although she has made some minor advancements in being able to activate part of her left side. She can wiggle her toes on occasion on the left foot, and she can, when they get her up in a standing position, she, for the first time just yesterday or the day before, was able to put a little bit of weight on it. So, yeah, it's slow going. I guess I've been putting this off because I don't want to be depressed or, come across as depressed on a podcast, because really it's just to kind of like put a little bookmark in time. We tend to only remember the good things, and this is certainly not among those. But I felt like it was important to go ahead and, stick to this once a month update of the happenings in the life of Brent, for future review and retrospection. Or perhaps if Delilah wants to look back, at Grandma's last days at some time. And I'm sad to put it that way, but that's just kind of how it feels. You're in a place where people are kind of at the end of the road, and I'm hopeful that Mom can recover enough to get out of that facility and back home in a way that is meaningful, and, it's not just constant around-the-clock care. But, that all remains to be seen. Of course, I pray for that outcome. And I think if anybody's tough enough to do it, she can do it. But, the brain is a funny thing. You really realize a brain injury is not like a bruise or a cut. There's a timeline on that. With the brain, you can have big changes up to a year. Maybe even longer. I guess there's cases of people coming out of comas after 20 years. Not that she's in a coma, but it's like that. The brain is inactive in the area that needs to connect to those limbs. But she is in Trinity Place, which thankfully is only a mile from the house. I could say a lot of great things about some of the people there. Some perhaps not so great things about at least one of the people there. But, really, what's the point? I realize it's a difficult situation. Caring for folks that are in any variety of incapacitation. Mom actually is pretty straightforward as far as the care goes, but a lot of folks there are not. And pretty much everybody there is wearing diapers, at a certain point. And of course, when I'm told that each nurse has 8 to 10 people they have to take care of, and they try to meet that 20-minute time, when somebody rings the bell or whatever to get changed, but they don't. It's a farce. It's an absolute farce. The bell system sounds a bell till they come, turn the bell off. They can take as long as they want after that. It shows that they turned the bell off. And that's the one time I complained about it, and literally Summer was sitting right there and saw that it took an hour. They said, "Oh, there's no evidence to support that." I'm like, "Are you stupid? I just told you my daughter was sitting here. It took over an hour. That's the evidence. Your bell." And even Mom in her adult state, she pointed out, she's like, "Yeah, but while you were sitting here, the girl came and was supposed to, do this, and she saw it was in this, and she turned the bell off and said, 'I'll be back.' How do we know when she comes back?" And, even Mom, with all of the, pain medicine she's on, was able to, suss that out right away. And, we just got stonewalled on that and told, well, you're always welcome to look at the other places. And for somebody to say that, that's pretty cold-blooded, because everybody knows that Trinity is the best place around here and whatnot. Then, of course, I'm not going to get into a deep discussion on it, but Humana and these companies that advertise to take over control of your Medicare from actual Medicare, they're all evil. They should all burn in hell. That's my feeling about them. They are there to deceive old folks, to basically profiteer on the backs of the most vulnerable members of our society. That's where I'm at on that. So we'll just leave that there, and I hope that none of you ever have to go through the situation where a loved one is incapacitated and requires around-the-clock care and, physical therapy. Because companies like Humana, not good. And I would say if, for your own personal case, they advertise it as something that makes things cheaper for you and gives you benefits. Actually, what it does is it gives them control of how much care you get. And of course, if you're just using it to pay for your medicine, then of course it does look like a good deal until that acute incident happens and you have a need of full-time care. Then they control your fate. They literally tried to send Mom home, couldn't even sit up, couldn't even be in a wheelchair. Tried to send her home after 14 days. What can you say about these people? They're absolutely the scum of the earth. I literally put them below professional criminals. Like, I really do. Because at least with some of those guys, there's a code. They won't take advantage of old people. A lot of them will. Anywho, moving right along, there's other things that it's not all bad. We came to one of my favorite events of the year at Baden, which was Celtic Festival and Celtic Fest at Loch Baden. My friend Tim sort of was the main organizer with Better Baden for that this year, and they had it at the golf course behind Baden Inn. Wow, what a change that made. Great place to have it. So much nicer than having it on the green or at the waterfront. The whole thing was great. The weather was literally perfect. Blue Carolina skies, puffy little clouds, nice breeze blowing, and I don't think it ever got above 71. So perfect day, and I spent 4 hours out there with Delilah. We toured the Narrows Dam, which was amazing. Got some great pictures, and visited with some Highland cows. And just really, really had a great time at that. And then the boys got to play a little show at Loafers on the Deck. And that's the first live music on the deck. Then, of course, we sort of had a sound man, and the sound didn't go smooth. There were some technical difficulties. One of the guys had to pull out at the last minute, but we still pulled it off, and it was fun. It was a lot of work to make happen, but it was fun. As it turns out, I ended up having to bring literally all the instruments since Mark's piano was on the fritz. And but we pulled it off. It was just kind of high stress, and I don't know how excited I am about trying to do that with the whole band until it's a situation where I'm just bringing my guitar and my amp, But I digress. We also played 2 weeks prior to that, the Arbor Day Festival at Norwood. And again, that was great fun. Another band lent us their PA, and we just brought instruments, and that was great. I really enjoyed that. Encountered a tent selling 3D printed goods, which kind of sparked my thought that I should go ahead and get into 3D printing. I've been watching that hobby/side hustle for about 10 years and thought, hey, the machines are better now. That's easier to get into. And so I did. I talked to Nancy and we discussed it. And, there's going to be kind of an offshoot of Almar Nutrition where we sell little tchotchkes and knickknacks that are 3D printed in the store. And I got a fantastic 3D printer called the Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon. I got it with the hopper, so there's multicolor capabilities. I'm really just kind of printing some fun little things out. I'm trying to stick to shorter projects, although I did get into a project yesterday that was set to take 17 hours, but it seems like it may have stalled out. I don't know. I've had one other failure, but for the most part, everything has went really smooth. One of the great things about this particular printer is that it includes 2 cameras, one of which will take a time lapse for you and save it on a little card, so you can always download that to your phone or share it on TikTok. And to that end, I'm actually trying to be serious about a TikTok for that business, because my plan is to go to have an Etsy. When I get into any original content, I'll have an Etsy store as well to sell this stuff. But we had Summer sort of put together the first little succulent sort of based on one of the 3D prints yesterday, and I've made a few cool little figures, and I see that kind of growing and being something that maybe at least will pay for itself and perhaps even make a little profit. So in a nutshell, that's what's been going on the last month. I try to visit mom daily, sometimes multiple times daily, because, that's sort of the thing. It's just keeping the chin up. She's a strong person, but she doesn't like the food at all times there. And you can imagine some meals are okay, others are fried chicken fingers or whatever, and microwaved, and it could be a bummer. As somebody who had to, was in the military and always, fortunately, was lucky enough to have great food at the places I went, I heard some tales of places that didn't have great food, and that's a demoralizing thing when that really all you have to look forward to is the next meal. She's pretty much watching the Western Channel 24/7, which is kind of what she watched at home. So at least there's that. They've recently moved her into a room that's going to have a roommate. And in this room, they can't, because it's just her right side she can use, they can't position her in a way that she can look out the door and meet people. So she doesn't like that. She wants to be able to socialize from the bed. And they do put her in a chair so 4 or 5 hours a day, which I understand tires her out. But anyway, one of the tiny silver linings in this cloud is they have a Chickering baby grand piano. Sometimes I will roll mom out there and play on that. And I've been playing it so much. Literally, I've been playing piano daily since mom has went into Trinity. So I guess that's been 3 weeks now. And that's really improved my piano playing, I got to say. In fact, I might have mentioned this earlier that I was going to get back to doing some solo performances after having taken time off at Loafers for a couple of reasons. I didn't want it to look like I was self-serving and booking myself more often, so I took a little 3-month break from playing at Loafers when I started being the booker. And now I'm going to get back to playing monthly. And so my first performance back will be June 1st at Loafers. And hopefully it'll be on the deck outside if the weather is permitting. And also that week, on May 30th, we'll do an open jam. And that'll be the first open jam on the deck. So hopefully that's going to work out great. I will say that for the little show we did, and especially for Jack Burns, there was a great crowd outside. So that expands tables, which is what we're trying to do, make it profitable for them so that we can have a nice music scene in Baden. So, yeah, it's looking up. But I'm going to attempt on June 1st to do piano the whole time. I am very rudimentary and basic on the piano, but in the setting of a restaurant, they're not looking for like real flashy stuff anyway. I'm not nearly on the level like a Mark Woodward, who of course has really inspired me to want to be able to do just the piano and me. But I can play the basic songs and sing them, so that's what it's going to be. And if people respond to that a certain kind of way, I may do it here and there. Obviously, I'm a guitar player. I'll take my guitar as a backup if I just totally bomb on piano, but I'm hoping to play piano the whole time. So, ran a big print last night of 2 articulating pandas print in place, and it looks like it was supposed to be 17 hours. It looks like it may have stalled, or the app is not correcting properly, which has happened before when I'm remote from the store. So that's one of the reasons I wasn't able to sleep. So I pretty much woke up at 3:40 or something like that and tried laying there for an hour. So I just got up and cleaned. And actually, my experiment to grow my beard out for 1 year has now ended at the 7-month mark. I guess right before the Celtic Festival, or maybe right after the Celtic Festival, I had the beard on the side and a mustache cut and left a big long goatee. And I don't know, after a number of days, I just found that really stupid. And people were complimenting me on the little bit of hair that I'd cut off. Oh, you cut your beard, and I was like, whatever. It's really funny. People are really polarized on the beard. Dudes seem to like it. Women can go either way. Maybe the dudes that don't like it wouldn't say so, because you don't go around worrying about another man's facial hair. But women will just say what they think, and a lot of them maybe don't like the beard. But I can appreciate if Nancy low-key doesn't like it. But I do have my line of like beard ointment, so I try to keep a beard, but like the long one was just getting crazy. So I experienced too many hair in the mouth scenarios. And interestingly enough, my poodle, very elderly, had been licking her lips a lot. And I thought that just meant that she was thirsty, but maybe it was just that, the hair around her nose was getting into her mouth or whatever. And so we went ahead and cut the hair on her nose down a little bit more so it wouldn't get into her mouth, and gave her a really shorter haircut this time because, she's 15 now. I did discover through those folks at Wagon Tails that there's a medicine that I can get for her that might melt some of her cataracts so she can see a little better. She's functionally blind. I mean, I know she can perceive light, but it's cataracts that just cover both eyes. So she can use her nose, but sometimes she doesn't want to use her nose to navigate, and she'll just sit in the corner and bark until I come get her. So that's not fun. I want her to have a nice time. But she lives a pretty stress-free life, gets hand-fed on the daily, and it's not just dog food. She gets that once in a while, but usually it's like a rotisserie chicken or a bit of steak or something like that. So she stays pretty happy, and she seems to be happy to sleep a lot. And we probably spend like 2 or 3 hours with her a day at home. And, she does not seem sad, but, what can you tell from a dog? But, like, she's demanding of me like she's not of anybody else. Like, bark, put me down for water, bark, pick me up, and that sort of thing. Bark, take me outside. So, actually I'm going to take her to visit Mom, I think, pretty soon. My brother took his cane corso in there the other day, and it's funny because it was Mother's Day, and we, of course, took her breakfast that day, and it was me, Delilah, and Nancy. And then I look out and I go, oh, it must be a support dog. And it was Raven, and Chris came in with her, and, she loves Mom and vice versa. So, she was real happy to be in there. And then, of course, we all started feeding her the breakfast, and she was really happy. She's a very food-motivated dog, big thing, too. And we took her out, and, she's actually a really friendly dog, and she'll literally go from barking at somebody, like in suspicion, to being their best friend in like inside of 90 seconds if they start petting her. So she really loves the pets, and she's got this real silky coat, so it's always fun to pet her. And but then I noticed she was really wanting to jump up on people, and like that is not her usual mode. So I think she was a little overstimulated being in there and getting so much attention, but it was cool. So let's see. Went and visited Mom for a couple hours, played the piano for probably 30 minutes on Sunday, and then eventually we took Delilah home and went off to the hotel at Embassy Suites for our little Mother's Day thing, and just kind of hung out over there. Just ate way too much, and came home the next morning, got back probably by 10, and I had an 11 o'clock, and that was kind of how our week started this week. So that's kind of everything that's transpired that I've thought about. I did pick up a film camera off Facebook Marketplace for $30 with the idea that perhaps I will use a film format to shoot footage for a music video for one of the Bowers Foreman songs. By the way, I went to a mix session, which was the final mix session for the better part of 3 albums worth of music. I think it's like 29 songs that Harrison and I have done in 3 years. So look for some of that to be coming out soon. It's all finally mixed. Finally mixed, I should say. It's all finally mixed and ready for release. Back to the film thing for a second, though. I haven't found the film, and I keep my eye on Facebook Marketplace for a working VHS camera, and I found one, and I already drove to Waxhaw, and the lady at the last minute said her son wasn't there to test it, and she didn't want to do it, so I was stuck. That was last Wednesday night. Well, she eventually got back to me and said that they tested it, the battery doesn't work, but you can plug it in and record, and it works. So that's good enough for $30. So I'm going to go try to grab that possibly tonight, but my policy this time is going to be I'm not even going to consider going if I don't have her house address. I'm not going out there and getting stood up again and, whatnot. And it's just $30. I'm not even worried about it. If I don't get it, another one will come up. Somebody gave me one. Of course, it would not work plugged in or with the batteries. And our friend Josh was explaining to me that there's no way that type of battery could last this long. So that's why all the batteries on those old cameras are dead. And I find that to be true because all of my old video cameras, none of the batteries work as well. So perhaps I'll get that. And it would just be like for a one-off kind of project, maybe a music video recorded on it, and it's actual VHS footage, not like iPhone footage that's converted to look like VHS, but actual VHS. That would be kind of cool. Although they can do a very good job of faking it, and I have free apps on my phone that will do it. So it's I'm only going to spend so much effort trying to do it, I guess is what I'm saying. Serendipitously, once again, my friend Ron Vigil has come to me with the prospect of capturing and digitizing, putting online old VHS tapes, 8mm tapes, and actual film. So I've accepted to do this project. What I did was I didn't really know how to charge for it, because if you just went by the hour, it would be outrageous. So what I did was I had him go 2 places and get a price to do this, and then I just basically undercut that significantly and said, well, this is what we'll do. So, but the thing is, I think it might take me like over a month to do it. So I can do that while I'm printing things, I think, and waiting on prints to print. And it might be this sort of thing I could pull off. And not to put too fine a point on it, but with all the extra expenses coming out right now with Mom's situation, Delilah is about to start music lessons, because I always had the commitment that at 5 years old she starts piano lessons until I feel she has mastered the piano. So that's a non-negotiable. Still looking for that final teacher, but I do have a good lead on one. And she's been compared to Nettie Laughlin, the late great Nettie Laughlin, who we all thought a lot of, and has taught everybody around here to play violin and piano. So I'm going to check this lady out and see if she has availability. That said, I guess that's about everything for the update. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. There is a rodeo about an hour away that I've been playing with the idea of going to see, but we may just stay back. And I don't think Nancy's gotten to visit Mom this week, so we may just hang out with her a bit and eat close to home or whatever. But anyway, I think that's a significant update for Brentocast 58. Hopefully it'll be a more joyous Brentocast next time. But if you got your parents, man, all I can tell you is just keep them close and love on them all you can while you can. Have a great week. Thanks for listening.